Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Titus, and welcome to Tapping In with Titus. I'm pleased to welcome Sandy, my Nana, a member of the baby boomer generation, who will join me today in our discussion. Just like others from her generation, she has lived as an adult through this huge switch in society from traditional media to digital media. This, along with her pretty unique and valuable first-person perspectives on the topic, will certainly be interesting to hear about today. So before we get to the specifics, we'll focus on the umbrella term, and that is digital media. What would you describe digital media as in your own words, Nana?
I had to kind of separate electronic media versus digital media. We had electronic media with telephones, TVs, and radio, but they were mostly not interactive. So I would define digital media as the ability to have an electronic interaction with someone or something without the with or without the actual participation of a person.
Awesome. Thank you, Nana. And that is quite similar to one formal definition stated by Benjamin Peters, where digital media is described simply as the content created, stored, or shared through digital technologies. This encompasses all types of information such as text, audio, video, images, and interactive content accessed from technologies such as computers, smartphones, tablets, or really any other digitally connected machine. Now for the digital media niche we will be covering today, that's going to be social constructionism. This is a theory in sociology and communication studies that argues that social reality is constructed through social human interactions and shared understandings. This means that definitions, concepts, and institutions aren't necessarily based on objective truths, but rather through majority-driven social processes. Um, this is my favorite class topic that we've worked on so far because I believe it is the single biggest player in digital media. Its effects have been rapidly advanced by the digitization of society, especially when it comes to the quick, shallow information we often indulge in with social media, such as TikTok, Instagram, Facebook Reels, etc. And it heavily impacts real-world outlooks, increasingly and especially when it comes to very important topics within politics or even moral codes. Um, and before we start getting into some real insight, one last piece of background information comes from an intriguing statistic from the Pew Research Center, which states that 72% of Americans say they go online at least once a day. And this really highlights the central role of digital media. And you can bet that 240 plus million Americans going on their phones at least once a day will expose them to the boosted environment of social constructionism that is digital media. Our online interactions and the media we consume shape our perceptions and social realities, and this constant engagement with digital content reinforces an ongoing cycle of reconstructed social norms and values. And I find this statistic itself unsurprising and honestly lower than I would have otherwise guessed, given how integral technology is in our modern society. But it just displays how widespread this topic affects the environment around us as it currently stands. So, with this background information now in mind, let's get into the questions. All right, Nana, let's chat about that 72% of American social media use figure and how it relates to social constructionism. This idea from Adam Greenfield that our social reality and norms are built through our daily interactions with each other, mostly in our smartphones as of today. I already sort of covered base on my outlook on it, but what do you think of that statistic? And do you agree with this idea that the constant use of digital media is rewriting our social rules?
I agree with you that I think the percentage of people on digital media daily, 72% seems low to me because almost every time I am with people at some point in time, they are on digital media. And I also believe it is foundationally changing our social construct from person to person interaction to an intermediary, which is digital media.
Absolutely. I certainly agree. And given that idea and the fact that you've lived as an adult through every stage of this digital revolution, I'm wondering how technology and digital media has changed throughout your lifetime. I know you already covered a little bit of how that was, but how did it feel watching these different waves of evolving technology kind of take over?
I can give you a couple examples from my life. So, when I had little kids, some of the things that kept me sane were talking on the phone with friends, um, and getting together with friends. We had a babysitting co-op, which was a great social avenue. Um, those things don't happen anymore. People don't like long phone conversations, and much of our communication is digital through email, texting, social media. And I think the lofty goal of better connectedness has disconnected us.
I definitely agree. Even like when I'm with my friends, I notice that, sometimes they'll hop on, Instagram Reels or TikTok when
Yes.
they're bored. And the long phone call thing I've also experienced. It's always like I'd rather text, and even there's even been some cases where I've gotten texts and my friend has been across the room from me, and
Yes.
it feels very silly for sure.
It is silly and it cuts down on human interaction. Another thing that I have done is I have disabled notifications on my phone because I notice when I'm with a lot of my friends, they are notified of every text, every incoming whatever, and our conversations are constantly interrupted. And it's a real distraction to me. And I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything not getting notifications. I can catch it when I'm not with somebody.
For sure. I also fall victim to that sometimes. But even though you have stuff like that disabled, what are some of the like integrations into your own life that you have done with digital media, if anything at all?
Oh, I am certainly one of those 72%. My life has really changed. I don't know if it's for the better or not, but I'm using my cell phone or my tablet a lot. And usually, what I use it for is gaining information. I read the newspaper, books. If I want to know the answer to a question, I ask Google, but I don't scroll. And so I am using it for information that I want, not what is being fed to me.
I think that is one of the biggest problems with that short form media is that it's really hard to fact check or even want to take the time to fact check or look
Yes.
into what you're reading, what you're being fed. It's just constant engagement. Um, and I think that a lot of people my age could take a lesson from you in that we should move towards that long form text such as articles or just books and stuff rather than that short form media that we get through scrolling.
And I always check my sources. So
That's
if
so
something comes
important.
through my feed and it doesn't seem right to me, I go to the source. And now I know what my reliable sources are.
Absolutely. And besides the potential negatives there, what are some possibilities that you are excited for or want to see in digital innovation?
Well, I consider those things I talked about to be a positive. Um, the ability to get information quickly. Medical records have not caught up with their great potential, but it's very, very useful when you're seeing multiple doctors for them to not have to locate a chart that's handwritten and be able to just pull up the information on their computer.
100%.
I consider Zoom generally a net positive.
Mhm.
It gives me the ability to have conversations with people who I'm not with. I am in Georgia, you are in Minnesota, and we can have
Yes,
a conversation.
yes,
I consider this an interactive conversation, and so that is a positive thing. And along the same lines, I am on a board, and we can have board meetings now when we're not all in the same place.
yes. I definitely agree. There's a lot of positives. There's a lot of good that can come from it. I just think we really need to focus in on those. But also circling back, this is like far in the future type of thing, but there's also definitely some negatives that could come from digital media. One of these comes from Sherry Turkle, who was a TED Talk speaker, and she argues that our devices give us the illusion of companionship without the intimacy of friendship, leaving us connected but alone. And we kind of covered basis on um, how this is really playing out in our time. But I think a kind of funny and very sci-fi version of this can be seen in this clip from Denis Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049. I will pull that up real quick.
Let's dance. Do you want to dance or do you want to open your present? What present? This one. What's the occasion? Let's just say it's our anniversary. Is it? No, but let's just say that it is. Okay. Happy anniversary. An emanator. Thank you. Honey.
All right. So that clip was depicting this guy and his AI girlfriend, and this new exciting thing in his life was was buying a chip that made it so she could walk around without a projector. And it's just such a disconnect and um just a very dystopian future example of what I think something like that could mean. But besides that extreme Hollywood example, and to wrap things up, I have two final questions. How do you think cell phones and social media are impacting us today? And do you see a decrease in our ability to communicate face to face? Or do you think that these devices help us communicate better on a personal level, not just on a information level?
With all technology since the beginning of the world, the ability of the technology has outstripped our ability to manage it. So I think digital media has great potential, but as with all other technologies, we have um, turned it, I believe, into a net negative. But I do believe it could be a net positive. It has greatly impacted human communication. My daughter tells me that all of her friends are lonely. They don't have friends. And I look back at my young adulthood, and interacting with friends was and still is one of the greatest joys of my life. So I think that for the present time, It really has negatively affected communication, but I think that we are figuring that out, and steps are being taken to reintroduce us to human communication and to use the technology more positively.
I absolutely agree. I think a lot of things that I've seen with like 80s throwback and stuff kind of has to do with that, where you just go out with your friends on your bikes. There's
Mhm.
no, you know, I'll see you now. Oh, I have to cancel all this.
Right.
Everything was a lot more personal and in your mind rather than on your phone. But with that being said, thank you very much, Nana, for joining me today in discussing such a prevalent topic in our modern world and to help share some of your wisdom with us. It was great to have you here and have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Nana.